welcome to our first ever podcast here on Hilton Head Island, the town of Hilton Head Island. We don't have a name yet, so we're going to work on that too. This is all a work in progress, everybody, just so we understand ourselves. So I have the things I need, which are Mayor Alan Perry, Town Manager Marc Orlando, who are going to give you a little insight into what's going on in Hilton Head Island, into themselves as well while we're here. A little behind the scenes look occasionally, I think, is what we're going for here. Marc is so scared I can't even tell you.
No, I'm not scared.
He is panicked that I'm going to do
scared.
something
It's just
bad,
maybe I shouldn't have sat in between the two of you.
That's you're afraid of that? Is that what it is?
That's what it is.
Well, let's start with some of the simple factors. I mean, Alan, you've been on the island. I used to say 40 years, and you always correct me afterwards. So I was trying to make you younger.
Thanks,
I apparently failed somewhere. But why don't you talk to me a little bit about just sort of how long you've been here, sort of the background in case somebody doesn't know.
Sure, yeah. So family started coming here in 1968. We lived here in the summers up until 72 when we moved down full time. My dad, we came in from Charlottesville, Virginia, but my dad packed everybody up and said, we're going to Hilton Head. He had bought a couple of businesses here, and so moved all 6 of us down, and pretty much have been here ever since.
Haven't leave. Well, you left for a little bit.
Well, I went off to college for a little bit, but came back. Yeah.
You still had to come back. The draw of Hilton Head. Is it the water? What was it that brought you back? I know you love to go boating. So
you know, it really is everything. From the beaches, from the lifestyle, from the bike paths. I mean, just is everything. And you know, it was hometown. It was in my blood. So it was the place to be. One point in time, I looked at leaving, going to Atlanta. Went up there, had a job offer with a headhunter group. And on the way home, I'm like, what am I doing? People spend their entire lives trying to get to Hilton Head. So
That's because you just got stuck in traffic one too many times in Atlanta and said, I'm never doing that again.
Never.
So,
That's
absolutely.
Right.
Marc, meanwhile, not been here 50 years by any means. So came from the great frozen north.
That's right. Canada, 1997 I moved here. I moved here really as an intern, town of Hilton Head Island. I think I've told that story a couple times, but it feels not that long ago, but then also a lifetime ago. I moved here in 1997. I always remember showing up late night, probably 8 o'clock, rolling into Hilton Head Island back in 1997, really wondering what my internship would lead to. And so what really drew me here was starting my career fresh out of college, trying to make my way, pave my own path, and next thing I know, I'm a little older, 52 years old now. Yeah, it's a similar story that we hear right now, especially with young kids looking for a job. I was at one time looking for a job, and everywhere I'd look, they'd say, hey, what kind of experience do you have? I had a business admin and urban planning degree, and everywhere I looked, what experience do you have? What experience do you have? And I wasn't finding the right experience to take that next big step into that first big job. And I realized, let's just go get an internship. I thought I'd come here 3-4 months like a lot of people do. And it really was a catalyst, a jump start to my career. And I realized at the time, I met a lot of good people, a lot of mentors, even to this day. Folks that I met back then were just some folks that were integrated into the island, and they took me under their wing, really through some friends. And then I've met some friends, and my life just took off. Quality of life, friendships, outdoor lifestyle, and one thing led to another, and I got a couple of promotions behind me and realized my career's pretty strong here.
And you didn't bring a moose with you from Canada,
no
so
moose,
that's
Andrew.
no moose with you at all.
Do
you still have the hat? Do you still have the Mountie hat with you? Don't they
yes,
give you one when
yes,
you go to Canada?
absolutely.
So when you're born, that's how it works.
Absolutely. Everybody gets a Mountie hat when they're born.
That's what
it's
I
a
thought.
secret. You just let our secret out.
Well,
Way to
now
go.
if the Canadian people come down and get us, we know why. So this is what happens. Meanwhile, Alan was living a wonderful life in Hilton Head, just a regular guy, and said, hey, let's do something fun. Let's run for office instead. So
yeah. It's funny how that happens. And, I got to give a lot of credit to my parents, right? Because, they're the ones that raised me, and they taught me, good values. And if you love where you live, you give back. And started that after I came back from college. Got involved with different organizations, and one thing led to another. And here I am as mayor, and it's quite interesting. It's I'm humbled by it. I'm blessed to be in this position, but I've got a lot of good friends that won't let my ego get bigger than my shirt. So, they keep me in check, and that's really important.
what was that moment like? I was there with you when you sort of finally found out, but what was that moment like when you said, oh my God, this is really happening?
family was there. It shocked me. I mean, I can't describe the wave that came over me to realize that a community had just selected me to be their leader. And that's the first time I've really talked about it. And I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. It was unreal. The love I felt was just amazing. And that's something that you got to keep with you throughout your tenure, right? Because you were elected for a reason. And if you forget that, wow, that'd be awful. But truly amazing. That's all I can say. It was just great, But I'm not typically lost for words. But this is one, that was a moment where I don't think any words could describe it.
And for Mark, you said, no, I'm going to leave for a little bit, go over to that town across the bridge, just so we know. Well, I guess we call it Bluffton is what we call it, right?
Absolutely.
And then said you had a chance to come back and said, I want to come back. What was it that drew you back here?
Yeah, almost what I'm hearing from Mayor Perry here is the same overwhelming feeling I've had. At the end of the day, this is a great place we all live in. And I always, just a person that moved here didn't really choose between Hilton Head and Bluffton. My career was here. My kids are in school here. My mother-in-law is working here. My wife and all our network and friends are here. But Bluffton was special to me. But at the time, I realized and I thought, Hilton Head, I could help Hilton Head and go to the next step in my career in Hilton Head a little differently than I was in Bluffton. I've been there a long time. I was there about 13 years as a long stint. And I just looked up and took a deep breath and realized that Hilton Head had a lot of opportunity in the future, from its capital projects to the environmental programs. And it was a challenging opportunity to think about replacing or filling in where Steve Riley left off, right? Some big shoes to fill and a legacy of a person. Steve was a town manager as I was an intern. And so he was the boss, but also through the years, a friend, a mentor, a colleague. And at the time, it was almost too good to be true. I couldn't believe it for a while. And you say goosebumps. It took me a while to not have that emotional reaction to it, where you drive down the road and you're like, did this really happen? Is this really happening? And so it's just a blessing. It's a blessing to my wife, my kids, our family, and it's where it started. The good feel-good story for me is, I moved here with my mountain bike as an intern, and I thought I was going to be here for a few months. Left my moose hat at home. I thought I was going to go back to it, and here I am many years later.
Did you really think you'd go back to Canada at some point?
I did. I thought I was going to go work in Toronto or work in some city in real estate or in some sort of business venture. But really, Hilton Head, once you're here, you're here. I moved away for a little bit. In 1999, I moved back to Canada for a couple years and worked as a consultant in Michigan and did that international everyday travel from Windsor to Detroit, living up there. But once I left, I realized, wow, what a great quality of life, good people, lots of friends, and a lifestyle that people work a lot of their life to either a vacation here for a week or two or retire here. Why am I not here if I can be right now? And that's always been my mindset.
Well, and we poke fun, but officially Marc is a United States citizen as well.
Yes.
So this is actually a yearly checkup. You're going to have to sing the national anthem here on the podcast if you'd like to stay a citizen. So I hope you understand that.
Yes, absolutely.
You got that for you.
Thanks,
Meanwhile, Alan just has to drink a Budweiser to stay.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
All
So
right,
it's
that's good.
all good with that. So.
I appreciate the filtering. Thanks for being kind to me in your first podcast.
Well, it's our first podcast,
Our first
sir.
podcast.
Everyone
Yeah.
together on this one. So, I mean, for you, Alan, it's 50 plus years. Is there one thing you can point out and say, I can't believe when I walk around the island, this is what it used to be compared to what it is now?
Wow.
I mean, there may be many too. I mean, I know it's Simpling Symbols restaurants and establishments, but it's the bridge, it's everything.
It really is. And, what we're seeing now is the redevelopment of some of the original places. And, I look at, like the old Plantation Club, in Sea Pines. That was a place that we would frequent often and sneak in and swim at night. But, to see that gone is really crazy. But what it's replaced with is just as beautiful, right? So there's, there's all kinds of different things, and I remember when there were no stoplights, and so you look at that, and now I don't know, 13 or 15 or something stoplights, 2 lanes, the dirt roads, and now things are being built up. There's the redevelopment is what really needs to happen to this community, in that 60 years a lot of those buildings are, right? And while we hang on to the past, we got to look to the future and say what's coming, right? And how are we going to be proactive in allowing the next beautiful things that my grandkids can go, oh, we remember Hilton Head when, right? Because that's where we pass it off to the next generations. But, that history takes us to the future, and that's what I'll always remember is, the quality of life, right? You ask why you live here, and it's 10 years old jumping on a bike and riding around and living in a safe community. But that's what I remember most, right? It's not the changes, but it's the lifestyle. And that quality of life is still here, and it's going to be here for generations.
Because I look at that I was here first 18 years ago or something to cover the Heritage when I was in TV, and just driving up, and it was the outlets, and then it basically went to Hilton Head, 2 or 3 things, and that was it.
Right.
And now you drive down the road in both cities, especially down here, and the difference. I mean, for you too, being an intern here, then coming back, 15 years later and going, wow, what the change that is.
Right, absolutely. When I first moved here, lots has changed. I always remember still going to the mall, and it's nice to be, here where I have some of those memories of what was here. I didn't just arrive a few years ago. And that's the greatest part of Hilton Head Island. If someone asked me when I first got here, what do you see Hilton Head in the future? And I said, hopefully exactly like it is right now. But there are so many opportunities to redevelop some of the properties that are getting a little older and they're vacant, and we have all those issues in front of us, all those elements that we're talking about in our comprehensive plan, our strategic plan, things we're thinking about as we're building our budget right now. It's for the future, but it's managed growth, right?
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot to it. I mean, the future is obviously, like Alan was talking about too, is the key to what we do. A lot of that too is one of the biggest things been workforce housing, what we're dealing with, and that there's a challenge to that. As much as you want to push that forward, you have to do it right, is what you
Right.
talked about too.
Yeah, absolutely. What are we trying to accomplish? This is something we talk about all the time. Where's town council want to go with this? What's important? What are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to be everything to everybody? Sometimes if you're not refined in your approach, nothing gets solved. And so I've talked about North Point for a long time. I think that we're really close to executing that development agreement and moving on with some of this key work. But at the end of the day, we do have a real issue with our workforce needs to be able to live in this region in a healthy way, in an affordable way, so that we can continue to thrive, right?
Well, and for you, Alan, the word that everybody's got to learn is patience, which isn't a Hilton Head trait by nature, is it? So,
Yeah, somebody asked me what the biggest challenge has been being mayor. Well, it's patience, right?
Yeah.
Because bureaucracy is real. And trying to get 7 people to make a decision, a good decision, a strong decision, and moving projects forward, it takes time. And yes, patience is a virtue. And, that's important for us to really talk about, because, the project North Point, it's been in the process a little over a year now, a year and a half. And when it's done, 25, 26, somewhere around there, it'll be spectacular. But we need it today, right?
Yeah.
How do we address that? What's the interim? And, how do we create more workforce here? How do we create the housing here? And so that's the real challenge that we face.
yeah, especially with that public-private ideal, because everybody's saying, why aren't the private companies getting involved? Well, it's things like words like density show up, and some of those things too, to explain it out. That's why you said the town must step up and do this, didn't you, Mark?
Yeah, I think that we have a tremendous opportunity with the property that's next to the post office. It seems to be in a great location. It has no encumbrances in terms of any preservation conditions on it. And it's also in an area that are close to the schools, close to the island rec, close to off island, not quite buried deep into some community where it's hard to get to. So I think that the opportunity there is a public-private partnership. We obviously can't figure this out by ourselves. And a developer, in my opinion, obviously can't figure this out by themselves. That's the grace, that's the brilliance of public-private partnerships, right? P3s, as they call them in the industry, across the country. Hospitals work with universities. Municipalities work with school districts. Municipalities work with housing developers. So I'm excited. We spent a good amount of time this week just really refining that development agreement, and I'm starting to wrap my head around bringing this forward for consideration in the April and May timeframe. Really the hard part of it is that we aren't real estate developers. We own land. We have grant dollars. We're relying upon the development community that's relying.
The need is there, right? And the realization that something has to be done. And also back to your question earlier, patience. The town can't do everything. We are not directly in the housing business. We are housing facilitators. We are here to help with these projects, to move them forward. So yeah, it's absolutely wonderful that you've got the Surge Group, the Richardson Group, Sea Pines, and others that are stepping up to do something on their own. And we need more of that. As we talked earlier about redevelopment, let's look at some of these commercial spaces. And as I mentioned to council the other day, as our opportunities to acquire land starts to diminish because there's not as much open space that will be available, we need to start looking at commercial space. How can we start to acquire that for the purpose of revitalization and housing? So, that's down the road a little bit, but we do need that private sector to come in and help.
That's what's really interesting when we go that sort of behind the scenes idea. Everybody sees council or sees the statements that they make there. There are dozens and dozens of hours on both staff and then council behind the scenes, all within the law, of course, but that have to go in before you ever get to a point that you can make a decision in front of the public.
That's right. Hundreds, thousands of hours. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of work between staff and council and the general public as to what's going on. So you couldn't tell the story, right? Because people would go, I don't believe it. But it is a tremendous effort.
Mark, give me a sense behind the scenes. What's that like when you're facing off with the mayor and council with something that's relatively controversial, something like this or some of the other ones? What goes through your head as you're trying to say, this is great, but now I have to sell it to them?
Right. It's 360 degrees, right? I'm in place not to be the eighth member of council and tell them all where we're going. Some of it is, what's our recommendation? What's our best knowledge? How do we bring that forward? But also, I'm in a position where, I really feel it important that I listen, right, twice as much as I speak. And I always say that 2 years redevelop some of the properties that are getting a little older and they're vacant, and trying to understand where there's commonalities and trying to understand where there aren't. And so that we can advance what makes sense, but advance the best foot forward. It's not always perfect. It's not always unanimous. But whether it's North Point or pickleball at our recent park workshop or soccer or a public pool, at the end of the day, I'm there to support town council, bring them the information, bring them everything I possibly can. And I have a great team. It's not me bringing it forward. It's a bunch of folks on the team there. It's Sean Cole and Josh Gruber, Missy Lewick. Depending on the topic, we know who needs to be at the table to provide that input. Building agendas, that takes the most time. Trying to figure out when we're ready, are we ready, and are we aligned? Are we moving it forward properly? And there's three committee agendas a month, 2 town council meetings a month, workshops, strategic plan workshops. It's just a lot of hours. I think I have a black belt in logistics at this point in terms of moving things forward. So it's not just the work; it's about punching it in the end zone.
Thanks for bringing up pickleball. Our numbers just went up by 1,000 in Hilton Head just by mentioning the word, I think.
Absolutely.
So after seeing some of the meetings and just mentioning pickleball, and people start to get excited out here with everything going on. Yeah. So pickleball players, both of you at this point? Or
not yet.
Not yet, huh?
I've played a bit.
Have you?
I don't know how to keep score. I'm just going to go with how I'll learn that over time. But I've played a lot of tennis in my life, so pickleball didn't seem to be that much of a transition.
Alan's too big on the water to go onto the tennis courts.
I'll get out there. Don't worry, I'll get out there.
Yeah, that's how you get reelected. It's probably by playing pickleball out
No,
there.
building pickleball courts. That's how you
That's
get
the
reelected.
truth.
We have
Yeah.
been challenged.
That's the
We
truth.
actually didn't end up going for whatever reason it was.
He had knee surgery.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
a couple guys were invited us to go play, and of course I might have started some trash talking back and forth in a text message, and then it never happened. So we do have to put that back
Yeah,
on
we
the
do.
books.
Got to put
So,
that back someplace on the books. Is that what surprised you about being behind the scenes? Going back just for a second, would be what walking in as mayor, and did you realize exactly what it all entailed since you hadn't been there the whole time?
I had a good idea, but no. I mean, unless you walk in those shoes, you really don't know. Is it more than I expected? Not really. Is it a little bit deeper than I expected? Yeah, it is, and which I love, right? I'm an information junkie, so I love getting down in the drudges and understanding and figuring out how things work, and then, listening to that process and then making the suggestions that might spark a thought and go, that does work, that works better or not, right? But for those that think that you can walk into it and just go, it's not the case. I told Marc over the holidays I took about 2 weeks off just to regroup from the past year. Right? What did I do right? What did I do bad? What did I do well? How am I going to move forward in 24? How am I going to lead in 24? And what's the style going to be? And how am I going to let it affect me? And how am I not going to let it affect me? What does my time look like? So there's all these things you've got to put into place while making certain that you communicate to your community as to what you're doing to help benefit and grow and live up to your campaign promises. And, it takes time to do that, but I see it moving in that direction, that we're really looking out for our future.
Biggest thing you learned in year one that you're taking into year two?
Have a bigger can of Teflon spray, because people come after you, which is okay. That's what the position entails. And I don't necessarily feel it as an attack on me personally, but it's maybe not moving fast enough. It's maybe changing your mind on something. But you learn throughout the process and you adapt. And but learning to let things go, right? Just to push it aside and okay, what are they saying, and how do we take that and turn it into something positive and move forward?
Yeah, that's good. Marc, from coming from one side to the other, what was that first year and turning around going, wow, I didn't realize this, or what did I learn in that first year? You're now 3 years in, so.
Yeah, 3 years going into my fourth year right now. The first year was a year of just really listening and making a couple adjustments. I had a great team to begin with. I had a town council and started to realize that perhaps the folks that were some elected already and the folks that I came here to work with and for weren't going to seek election. At the end of the day, it's part of my style to have a really solid strategic plan. I did explain it's like I inherited a great football team, pick 'em, right? Whether it's Detroit Lions or somebody else with the Dallas Cowboys, whatnot. It's just if you don't have a playbook, it's just chaos. Everybody's just running around trying to do something valuable, trying to all come together. And so, I've just my style to slow down to go faster. It's just part of my DNA at this part of my career. So first year was great because I got to listen. I got to reconnect with a lot of folks that knew me from a different position, a different vantage point, and then just really to reconnect with this community. Last couple years have been great in the sense that I think we're really digging in and starting to go in the direction we want to go in. It's less reaction, right? Our agendas, you talk behind the scenes, 3 months of agendas, picture public planning, community service, finance administration, 2 town council meetings, a strategic plan workshop, a quarterly workshop. We have agendas till June right now, and so we know what my staff's ready to bring forward, and what town council should be thinking about till June. And so from that perspective, I think that's more in place today than ever. We have a great team. I can't say enough. Great teams have great people. And the town staff, the folks that are there, are committed to this community, whether they live in Beaufort or Bluffton or Hilton Head or somewhere in between. they're really, really all in. And I think that's one thing that's really starting to matter at Town Hall. Whether you walk into the customer service center, they want to help you. It's not a job, it's a career. And that's something I've really focused on there, right? Having you come on board has been a gift and a blessing, because we're thinking for the future. We're thinking a little differently than we used to think, a lot differently. In the way we've created a Department of Public Safety with real community code officers at the beach, on the pathways, on nights and weekends, looking at short-term rental issues. New Department of Communications, so we're getting our message out differently. Press releases are great, but how effective are they? So from my perspective, it's been great the last while to really put that plan in place and start seeing it gain some traction, where what we're doing is now more automatic and in the norm rather than brand new.
Just so we all understand, I do have an open mic, so he has to be nice to me during this time. So we, just so we understand ourselves.
Absolutely.
But
It's
that's
our-
the point.
Yeah.
And he is a better leader for the town than he is for his son's soccer team, who has yet to take home the title.
No,
So
we've won one of the
you won
years.
one.
As a communications director, you need to do your research.
Oh, okay, I'll work on that for you. So we got one soccer title out of it
we
at
have,
least. So
we have one, ladies and gentlemen,
with you
one
as the
title.
head coach?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make
Yes,
sure.
so I'm bringing.
You can bring the trophy the next time.
I'm
so
just going to take a picture of it and send it to you later tonight. So.
not quite the same.
Soccer
so.
season starts in a few weeks, so
Not
we're
that
getting
you're
ready
ready
for
for
that.
it, I know. So.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's a lot of fun to coach my son and kids and see some parents and be at the park. I laughed at the recent public workshop we had on Chaplet Park. I'm almost an expert because I see how the kids are using it. I see where we're parking. I see how it's interacting. So it's kind of a little internal joke at the office. So.
Well, that's what's really cool about it is with only 12 miles to deal with, it's nice because you can see everybody in one day and you know exactly what they're talking about. It's not an area that you haven't spent any time with or been to.
That's true. And there's not a place I go that I don't see somebody I know. So,
That's true.
which is great. That's the community, right?
That's why you have a boat, so you can
That's-
get out there. It's hard
that
to
is
catch
one
you on the
reason why
water.
I have a boat.
If they pull up next to you on the water, then they know they're serious about
That's
it
right.
somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's a great place to be, though.
But I mean, there's a lot of time we'll have to talk about policy and things like that. But we want to get to know you guys a little bit. But also, you've gotten to know each other very well in a year so
Yeah.
far too.
Absolutely.
I mean, a good working relationship, a lot of positives here. So we're going to do a little game.
All right.
We're going to do a little newlywed game, as it was, but that's too old for most of the kids. So, so we have to get a sense of how well do
All right.
Alan and Mark know each other
Oh, boy.
after 1 year.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Right.
So, Alan, you get to answer first.
Oh,
Mark,
my
you
gosh.
wait to hear his answer. How old is Mark?
52.
And?
52.
Very good. All right, how old's Alan?
57.
Uh-uh.
I said 52 earlier in my defense.
Yeah, you did. Thank God.
That doesn't help now. Now that the mics are on, you messed that one up. So, Alan, you are?
58.
He had to think about it, by the way, just so we understand
59 is
ourselves.
coming up soon.
That's why.
And he looks 57. So
Yeah, I
He
appreciate that.
looked 57. Good try to save on that one. So, all right, Mark, who's Alan's favorite sports team?
Gamecocks.
Got it.
That would be the one, huh? Do they have a chance? They're building something?
Everybody has a chance.
You mean I have a chance?
Have a
You say on
chance.
a movie?
Okay, and for Mark?
Well,
There's choices, I
There's
know.
choices, right? You can go hockey or you can go football. And right now I'm going to go football because it's just so easy. Because his analogy has been go for the field goal, go for the field goal. So Detroit Lions.
There we go.
The Lions, you take the Lions over the Canadians if you had a choice.
The Habs. There's nobody that can replace the Habs.
That's what I was thinking.
But right now, for today, that's the best answer.
Do you want to explain icing to us at some point? Because we have no idea in the South how to figure that out.
That's
so.
like the fourth podcast.
We can't do it yet, so that's one of those things. So if Alan could play a sport, what sport would he play? Or what he'd be best at?
Soccer.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Were you a soccer player
Yep.
growing up?
I was. Yeah, I went to college and played soccer
Okay.
until I got injured. So actually won the state championship when I was at Seapines Academy here. But yeah,
There you go. Trophy right there. Pretty good fix.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school so everybody knows?
first year was Anderson Junior College and then College of Charleston.
Very good. Good school. Staying in South Carolina,
Oh,
which
absolutely.
is important. So,
Yeah.
well, I mean, we kind of talked about it. Do we assume that Mark would play soccer, or is there something else in there?
I got to go hockey.
Would you play hockey if you had a chance?
Oh, I'd play them all. Hockey,
Well, but
soccer,
which would be-
basketball. You mean professionally?
Yes.
Oh,
If you could be a professional athlete, what would it be?
any sport?
Any
Soccer.
sport. Soccer.
Okay.
By far.
You'd be a professional soccer player. You know,
By
the money's
far.
in other things, so.
Not necessarily.
Well, unless you go to Europe, so.
Yeah.
Right. That's different.
That's true. But
That's
once
what I
we
was-
bring the soccer teams
Yeah, I was
here,
thinking more Juventus. Yeah.
Juventus. That's like the 6th podcast. We're going to start
Yeah.
talking soccer for
Yeah.
somebody around here, and
Yeah.
especially European soccer someplace.
fun.
Okay, Alan, what's his favorite band?
Oh, favorite band. Wow. I'm going back to the Christmas party and the questions that were asked there.
Oh,
Well, I forgot that's true. I didn't even think about the Christmas
yeah.
party one.
And
So.
I don't know. I'll say Depeche Mode.
Likes a little emo rock out there, huh?
and it's a wrap. and it's a
They
wrap.
were once friends, now no longer. This is the first and last podcast we'll do today. I'm sorry. I
We
hope
were
you
doing
enjoyed it.
so great. Gosh, that puts me under pressure. I
You don't
even
have
know.
one band. If you went to a concert for any band in the world right now, who would it be?
Well, it's kind of I'm kind of old school a little bit. U2, Depeche Mode. I'm just kidding. U2, Pearl Jam. I've been to a few.
So what's Alan's one and only, you think?
What's your favorite band? It's got to be some sort of country music band, especially with your excitement that we had with the recent Hilton Head Island jams last year.
We'd like to keep this under an hour if you could answer the question, sir. It's,
don't
you know,
know.
we don't have extra
Can,
time.
can I pass some country band? Pick one. What is it?
Well, so
There we go.
you're right. Yeah. I do listen to more country, but I do go the old school route, right? Back to the 70s music. But right now, you know, I'd have to go Chris Stapleton or,
yeah.
or
There we go.
yeah, somewhere in
Yeah.
that realm.
Yeah.
But, you know, those guys that came in through the music festival were pretty doggone
Yeah.
special.
Yeah, they were.
That
special.
Stapleton new album's really good,
Yeah.
so that's a very good one. For Mark, Taylor Swift, Britney Spears, or Beyonce?
Oh, easy.
Oh, you got to go Taylor Swift.
Swifty.
Are you a Swiftie?
Well, not quite, but
Did
Taylor
you
Swift.
pay for Jackie and
No,
to go to
no.
the concert? So
No, not yet.
not
So
yet.
my daughter went this year, and she's going to the last concert over Thanksgiving weekend. I think up in maybe Detroit or somewhere up in that
Oh, yeah?
area.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
she was lucky to get one of those tickets.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
that's quite an event that's going on with Taylor Swift at this point. So,
Yeah.
what's our feeling with Taylor Swift and Kelsey? Is it a stunt or is it a real thing?
I think it's real, and they're coming here for Heritage,
There you
right?
go.
They're going to boost it up.
Why don't we invite
there we
them?
go.
Bring them now.
There we
We
go.
can invite them, right? We can
Yeah,
invite.
St. Patrick's Day parade coming up,
Oh,
right?
even
Yeah.
we can't make them the grand marshals, though, can we?
Good.
Why
Good.
not?
Yeah.
You have pull in that committee, so there's possibility out
Yep.
there. So, where did Mark meet Jackie?
Oh, wow. So it's interesting because that's when I first met Mark, is when he and Jackie started dating. Where did they meet? Where was it? Boy, I know. And it's just not coming to me right now.
It's all right.
I'm going to say it was at a bar somewhere.
I hope Jackie heard that. Well, I knew Jackie's I knew her folks, her mom and stepdad, before I knew Jackie. So I met her through her parents. But one of the nights we went out, you're right, it was at the Old Spice. Then it became a different name.
Yeah.
Eat, I believe it became. We went out. I went out, and she was there. So
That's where the magic happened. huh?
that's where it all started.
And then you have to do the story. Do you know the story of Alan and Kathy? So,
High school.
Yeah,
High
actually
school.
grade school.
Grade school back
Yeah.
in the day.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty amazing story for anybody who doesn't know it. So,
Yeah, it is. So, you know, Kathy moved here in '68. Her dad was the first paid firefighter, first fire chief, and her dad and my dad were best of friends. We went to school together. Grew up as friends, acquaintances, and then we both went off our separate ways. And then she came back to town 13, 14 years ago now. And just happen chance, we reunited, and here we are, years later.
sports gambling apparently is headed to the ballots over in Georgia right now. They just approved this as we're taping this today. So, so the question that I have for you guys is, who's going to win the Super Bowl?
You know, I think I got to go with the Chiefs or the team that's wearing red.
Narrows it down. So, always a politician no matter what you do. You can't even
Yeah.
choose a team.
No,
They
the
don't
Chiefs.
belong here.
Yeah, now that the Eagles are out and the Lions are out, is there a Super Bowl being played? I'm gonna pick, old school Joe Montana, Jerry Rice. I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers.
They don't play there anymore.
I know.
that,
I heard
so
they
it's
retired,
okay.
but
They
still.
did retire.
Yeah.
So.
But still,
But we played our
49ers.
little game. It was a fair game.
It was
not
fun.
too bad.
That
So
was
that was
fun.
the point. So, I mean, just sort of the last time, you've got 2 more years ahead of you.
Yep. 3.
And three,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
technically, yes. So, and you've got a couple hundred more if all goes well. Both
Hopefully,
of you do if all
yeah.
goes well, depending. So, what's that last thing that you say? Here's what I want to accomplish, whether it's this coming year or in the rest of this term before the next step happens.
I'll let you go first, Mark.
Sure.
Good thinking. He can think a little bit more. I saw how that happened.
Yeah. Big picture. I want to start. I want to finish what we've started. And we've started a lot, right? We've started and launched an update and kind of a deep dive into pieces of our land management ordinance. We said that we would bring some workforce housing units to the table through a public-private partnership. We said we would build out our parks, Chaplain Crossings, Patterson, Taylor, Shelter Cove Phase 2. We would bring parks, open spaces. We'd finish some of the pathway works we started. And we have to really focus over the next few months, several months, on the William Hilton Parkway Gateway corridor, right? It's not just a bridge to the island. It's not a corridor through a neighborhood. It's a big piece of who we are as an island. It's not just a transportation 6-lane road or whatever you have it. So we have to really finish what we started. There's a lot of our future at stake with just those pieces of the puzzle right there. So that's really where my focus has been. I spent a little bit of time just getting organized at our staff level of January through June, trying not to make too many decisions at once so I can help council make decisions. And so that's kind of where my head's at. We have to focus month to month on some of these big, heavy items so that we can put them past us or at least get on with them.
Well, and you brought up 278. I mean, you're really working with the community on this one. Since you brought it up, I was going to leave it alone.
Yeah,
So,
it's
but you
all
brought
right.
it up.
So-
But it's important to get out there. You're working with the community members. You're even having meetings to try to make sure as many people will be. No matter, you can't solve everything, but you're
No.
hoping that everyone will be happy with whatever decision's made.
Yeah, this gets back to the whole 360 degrees. There's residents first and foremost on the side of the road that have lived there for a very long time. Their impacts. What are their impacts? What are their mitigations, if any? And then there's the road network itself. So we have a few things going on. Yes, we continue to meet and work with Beaufort County and the Department of Transportation in that regard. And we are also continuing to work on, everybody calls it the William Hilton Parkway end-to-end independent analysis. So it's a long term to really say that we are taking a look at the data, right? The trips, the projections, and the options and opportunities to improve that road and improve the throughputs. It affects everything. It doesn't just affect workforce. It affects travel to and from our island regardless. And so we're doing that, and that work's going to come together into March and April of this year. So.
All right, you had your time to think about it, Alan. So
Yeah.
now you've actually got to come up with something. So
No, it's all good. So last year we were great at buying property, and that while that is so important for our future, we didn't move projects forward. And last year was a big learning year for me and council. So you ask what I want to see, and it's their job to execute, but it's our job to have the policies in place to make certain that, one, everybody's safe and everybody's protected, and then that we protect our quality of life. And that means so many different things. So as a council and as a leader of council, it is about showing the leadership that the community wants to see, and that we're giving them the directive and the opportunity to fulfill those projects and the needs that we've set forward. So that means having the proper budget, allowing him to have the proper staff in place, allowing them to do the right analysis to make certain that we're going in the right direction. But overall, one of the big things that I want to have is that a council that really works together. And I've been using an analogy lately with council is that we're all trying to get from A to B, right? And we're all using Google Maps to get there, but we have different stops along the way that create different challenges. Well, we've got to be able to talk about those challenges with respect. and understand the philosophy and the beliefs that one has into their decision. And whether it's with yours or not, you have to respect it. And that's one thing that I really want to bring forward, because the community needs to see that. They need to see that they've got a council that listens to each other, works together, and doesn't meddle in this day-to-day business of the town. You know, we're a $130 million company that helps generate billions in revenue. We are the number one beaches. We are the number one communities. We have the most beautiful, it goes on and on and on. It's our responsibility to take care of that and make certain that we're giving them the right tools to take care of it. And, over the past year, you've come on board, and that's about transparency, making certain that the community is aware as to what we're doing and how we're doing it, and getting the message out as much as possible. We brought on a housing, position, director of housing, and that's to make certain that we're addressing housing from all aspects, to make certain that the community is moving forward. We allowed them to bring on an environmental, management person, and that's to make certain that our shorelines and everything else is protected and done in a way that resembles and really reflects our drive as a green community. So from a council standpoint, it's most important that we work together and respect each other, because the community will pick up on that, and they'll be happier with where they live.
Absolutely. Well, we hope everybody's happy with living on Hilton Head Island, is what you guys are doing, what everyone's doing to try to get that together. We hope to continue this and offer some more insight into town government, what's going on, maybe some of the leaders from the area, also to bring on and get some questions answered for you. We still need a name of the podcast, so that's going to be important as well.
Think about
So
it.
Rock,
we'll
paper,
figure
scissors.
that's rock, paper, scissors for, that's not the name of the podcast,
No.
I'm sorry. Rock, paper, scissors
I
can't be the
kind of
name.
like the name. I thought
Rock,
that
paper,
was the name.
scissors. That's, but see, then people think that's how you choose to do things in town, and it ends
Okay.
badly for
All right.
everybody.
Thank
See,
you.
this is why I'm the communications person and
Thank
you're
you.
not. So
Yeah, sure.
this
Good
is how
point.
this works. So
Great point, Ansel.
we'll have a lot
What a
more
great
coming
ending.
up in the coming days. I'm Andrew Davis for Mayor Alan Perry, for Town Manager Marc Orlando. Thanks for joining us.